We are going to hand the mic over to Dr. Lynn Bahr. She has also been a guest on the Community Cats podcast, and I want to thank her and welcome her to the online cat conference. And much of her talk is going to expand on some of the topics that we heard with Molly Armas on Friday night of Alley Cat Allies, and then Tabitha Crucera last night. And now it's going to sort of roll right in and then also with Kim Freeman's talk too. So, and then now we're going to phase right into Dr. Lynn Bahr's presentation. So I'm handing the mic over to you, Lynn.
Thank you so much, Dezi, and thank you so much for having me here. I'm really excited to talk to all of these cat lovers. This is a wonderful way to be able to become a community, for all of us to be able to sit in our own homes while we learn, while we teach each other. It's a real delight for me to be giving a presentation with a cat laying on my lap. So I hope everybody's in as good of a position as I am. Today we're going to talk about the difference between stray and feral cats, something that I know is near and dear to everybody's heart. Before I go much further, I'd like to introduce myself. I'm Dr. Lynn Bahr. I'm a feline veterinarian. I've been in practice for almost 30 years, and it was actually a cat that got me into the profession. I know how profoundly cats can change lives because they have changed mine. It was a little gray and white fluff in 1980 who I named Rudolph because of his pink nose that got me into the profession, and Rudolph taught me everything I needed to know about cats. I actually grew up as with dogs. Our cats sort of were just these outdoor creatures that we fed occasionally, and it wasn't until Rudolph entered my life and guided me into the profession that my whole world changed. And so I know how profound animals are and how they change our lives, and I'm sure every one of our listeners here, life has been changed by a particular cat, if not by many cats. And so I've devoted my life to them, and I know that everybody here has also devoted their life to them. So we're going to talk about community cats, and Alley Cat Allies has been around since I graduated from vet school, and it's an organization that is really near and dear to my heart. I've learned just about everything from them. They're a great resource. I wish more veterinarians knew about them. Unfortunately, I don't think that they do, but a lot of my slides here and a lot of what I'm talking about actually came from them and what I've learned from them. And nomenclature is really important. I cringe every time a client comes in, brings in their cat that they've owned for 15 years and says that they have a feral cat. As we all know, feral cats are not going to be owned. People aren't going to have them living in their house for 15 years and be able to bring them into a carrier, into the vet office. And so nomenclature is really important. Not all cats are feral, and not all cats that come from outside are feral. Feral, stray, and pet cats are all the same species, but how they react to people determines really what cat they are. And so many of the cats that are outside are really just homeless cats, stray cats. Many are semi-socialized cats. Why is this important? Because it's a matter of life and death. Cats who are feral, who enter into shelters, are typically euthanized within 24 hours. That is life and death. Knowing what to call them and giving them that name really matters. And so we as a community need to start talking more about community cats and knowing the real difference between the feral, stray, homeless cats so that they can live the appropriate lifestyle. So today we're going to talk about the difference and how first impressions are not always correct. Once we have identified cats and we find that they're not feral, can we bring them into the home? That's something we're going to discuss. And when we do bring them into the home, we need to talk about environmental enrichment and how to keep them happy living in that home. And for those cats who will not live in a home but prefer their life on the street, we need to talk about medical care for them. And so let's take a look at this kitty right here. What do you think? Is this a homeless cat? Is it a feral cat? Is it somebody's owned cat? It's kind of hard to tell just by looking at her or him. And so I lifted this off from Alley Cat Allies, but it's a good representation. It's a good little guide to sort of tell you the difference between the two. And again, it's just a guide. Not everything here is set in stone. Most of you all are in the field and know this already, so I'm not going to be teaching you anything new. But I did find some things on here a little bit surprising. And so feral cats, we know, are really not going to approach people. They're going to be hiding. They're rarely going to be seen in the day. When you do see a truly feral cat, the minute they see you, they're gone. They're very hard to spot. They're not going to purr. They're not going to come up to you and beg for food. They're really not even going to look at you. They're rarely out in the day. They're typically more out in the nighttime. And what's really surprising is that they are generally clean and have well-kept coats. Now, this isn't always the case with toms that are getting beat up, cats who are really fighting a lot or maybe infested with fleas, that kind of thing. But for the most part, their physical appearance is pretty good. They're used to living outside. They know how to take care of themselves. Stray cats, on the other hand, you may see them walking down the street. That's not a feral cat. They may come up to you. They will definitely kind of look at you. They typically live alone. They're not in a group colony. And they might be really dirty and disheveled. And so just in looking at these two things, let's look back at this little baby. Can we tell the status of this cat? Initially, looking at the picture, I think most lay people would say this was a feral cat. However, it's really dirty and disheveled, so it really could be homeless. Doesn't know how to take care of itself and is trying to fend out there all by its lonesome. And so when you are doing your TNR and you've trapped them, is there a way to tell the difference when they're in the trap? That is really difficult. All cats in a trap are going to be scared. They're frightened. And many stray cats will act like they're feral because they're in an extremely stressed situation. And so, again, first impressions, looking at this and looking at the cat in the cage, remember that you may not be right at first impression. Cats in cages are scared. Some of the differences may be, and again, you guys probably already know this, but feral cat in a cage is going to be going bonkers. They are so petrified. They've never been that close to a human being that they practically try to kill themselves in that cage. Whereas maybe a homeless cat is going to be really, really scared, kind of crouched, may hiss, but they're not going to be thrashing as much. But again, first impressions are not always the correct ones. And so what do? We need to observe. That's the most important thing we can do, is kind of use our eyes and our senses and watch the cat. Understand what situation the cat is in and look for subtle, careful clues as to the true nature of the feline. And I know, I'm probably as guilty of it myself. When cats come into the exam room, we want to talk to them. We want to reassure them. You trap them, they're scared, they're lunging, and you're sitting there telling them, oh, don't worry, calm down, I'm not going to hurt you. That is probably the worst thing in the world for that kitty. That is, in a cat's point of view, similar to aliens who have landed, who have come into your bedroom, woken you up from a sleep, and are dragging you off to the spaceship. And the whole way there, they're telling you, oh, don't worry, it's going to be okay. And they're talking to you in Martian language, and you don't understand a word they're saying. And then they start poking and prodding you the whole time they're telling you, oh, it's okay. No, it's not okay. And so, being careful what you do around that cat is important, because that cat is watching you. And remember that. Remember every single move that you're making, every single thing that you're doing, that cat is observing you. And so your actions and what you do and how you act around it is very important to how the cat's going to react to what you're doing. And so you need to watch them. You need to know they are watching you, and be very cognizant of both of those interactions. So here we have a cat that is likely not owned. I don't know if this is in a resort area or where it is, but this cat lives outside. It probably does not have an owner, and yet it is allowing this little girl to pet him, pet her. This is probably just a homeless cat. This definitely is not a feral cat. We all know that. But would this cat like to be owned? It's very possible. And it's very possible that we can give this cat a good life in our home, because it's used to people. It's enjoying being petted, and it would like to be loved. However, not all cats want to live indoors within four walls. And that's something that I talk about often. It's actually a different presentation that I give, and that is, should all cats be indoor-only kitties? So I know as a veterinarian, this is going to come as a surprise to you, but I'm not sure that all cats need to be indoor cats. Now, certainly if you live in the city, you live in a high rise, if you live in a situation where you cannot let a cat outside, obviously, yes, that cat needs to live indoors. But there's a real movement of indoor only, where people are feeling guilted if they let their cat outside, where they think that indoor cats live longer and they're safer, and that all cats should be indoor only. And I'm not sure that there's a lot of real truth or facts behind that. Again, that's a different lecture that I give, but I do want people to think about that. This cat here, sitting outside in the sunshine and the fresh air with the ability to go wherever it wants, this is actually quite a happy cat. This cat would be a whole lot happier if it had regular meals and shelter and somebody to love it and medical care. But I don't know that this cat here on this ledge would be happy living exclusively indoors. So now that you've decided to actually bring the cat indoors and you are going to keep it exclusively indoors, there are some essential elements that this cat's going to need in order to be happy and healthy. I segued a few years ago from veterinary medicine into, I formed a company called Dezi and Brew, where I make enrichment toys. I did this because in my career, I have seen, initially my patients were outdoors. That wasn't great. Owners threw them out in the night and went to sleep, and the cat had to fend all night fighting off other cats and predators and the rest of it. And then about 15, 20 years ago, it became more common for cats to go indoors and outdoors. I think that's an ideal lifestyle. But recently, the transition has gone to keeping cats strictly indoors, as I just, talked about. And there's a lot of problems with keeping cats indoors. If we're going to do it, we need to give them the enrichment um, that keeps them happy indoors. And one of the main things that cats need is hiding places. It is super, super important. Most cats that were born outside are born in dark environments where they're safe, whether it's a hidey hole, little cave. But the queens take their kittens and they give birth in dark, small places. And so cats grow up knowing that that's a good thing. It's not a bad thing. And they need to hide. And they need lots and lots of places in which to hide in our homes. And so you see this cat up on the top here, on the top left. That cat's in a hide and sneak. That's a product that I made specifically for cats in homes. It's a paper tunnel that most cats love, and it gives them a place to hide. But you don't need anything like that. You can just have boxes around the house. That picture below is a picture of my cat Dezi in a box sleeping away. Boxes provide great hiding places. Below that is my other cat, Rue, and she is laying in a stack of cat caves. Normally you don't see her head above there. She's curled up in there, and it's high up on a bookshelf, and she can hide away all she wants. Now, lots of times in our homes, we discover our cat's hiding places, and once we've discovered them, it's no longer a hiding place for a cat. So let your cat be. If your cat is hiding and your cat wants to be under the bed or in the closet or in a pile of clothes, wherever your cat's found a good hiding place, let them have that hiding place. It is essential. It's no longer considered environmental enrichment. It's actually considered an essential component. The other thing that's important for cats that are indoors is scent enrichment. Cats that are allowed outside are able to walk the neighborhood. They smell grass, they smell soil, they smell leaves, they smell other cats, they smell other animals, and scent is extremely important. Again, when a cat is born, the first 2 weeks of their life, they're blind and deaf. They navigate their world through smell. It's how they find their mom, how they find the teat, how they know their siblings. Scent is extremely important. And cats who are kept indoors are really smelling our cleaning supplies, what we're cooking, what we put on ourselves. They're smelling an artificial environment in 4 walls. And so giving cats scent enrichment is a way to improve their lives, make them happy, give them things that they're missing from the outside. And so you see Feel Away up there, Feel Away. I'm sure most of you are aware of this product. It puts out some good cat pheromones and makes cats feel calmer and safer. So Feel Away in the home is always a good thing to do. Below that is our Cloud9 Silvervine. Silvervine is a cat attractant that's better than catnip. It's actually to die for. Most cats love it. Catnip is a good cat attractant. You can try things like honeysuckle and valerian. I prefer that people mix it up and change the scent enrichment every day. I like to bring in leaves and branches and things from the outside, McDonald's bags, anything from the outside that you can bring in and let your cat smell is going to make them happy. It's going to add variety to their life. Below that, you see the grass. I am a fanatic about grass for indoor cats. I think all cats should have grass at their, anytime they want it. I grow grass for my cats 24/7. They are never without a pot of fresh grass to munch on. It is super important. And then there's the ability to scratch. Sure, everybody here is aware that cats communicate by scratching. It is the number one way they text. the way we message each other and text and talk on the telephone. The scratch post is a telephone for a cat. And indoor cats need lots and lots of opportunities in which to scratch, preferably in every room. They should have horizontal, they should have vertical, they should have substances that they like to scratch in a variety of substances. Cats that are outside will scratch on surfaces that are within their normal path. They don't really go to the periphery and scratch. They don't really mark their territory by going to the outside of their territory and scratch. They tend to scratch mostly where their pathways are, where they most commonly walk. And so when you're placing them in the house, that's where you should be placing your scratch posts and giving your cats the opportunity to scratch as much as they want, as often as they want. And then some of the things we forget about, if we're going to take a cat that has lived outdoors and bring them inside, we should provide them with fresh air and sunshine and places to climb. These are simple, easy things to do, but something that most people don't do. I know when I drive out of my subdivision and most of the homes that I look at, the blinds are closed, the curtains are closed, people don't want other people looking into the house, and I know there's cats inside. And those cats need sunshine. They want to look outside. They don't want those curtains closed. They want them open. They want the sun to be able to shine in. I know most people don't open up their windows. No, we are creating artificial environments inside for our cats. In the summer, we have air conditioning. In the winter, we have heat. That is not normal. That's not, if a cat were outside, they would not be hot in the wintertime. And I know people are opposed to opening up their windows if they have the heat on or they have the air conditioning on. But we have to make, 5 minutes, 10 minutes a day to do that, to let your cat get some fresh air and to smell their neighborhood and to smell what's out there, so they know where they live and they feel more comfortable where they live. Giving them opportunities to climb. We've all heard about that, but not everybody gives that to their cat. A lot of people just have one cat tree and that's it. There's plenty of ways to give your cats opportunities to get high. You can, take things off of the top of a bookshelf. You can put floating shelves on the wall. You can buy more than one cat tree. You need to give cats opportunities to climb, get up high, get away from it all, look down on things. We know that cats outside like to get up on roofs and, walk on fences and climb trees. It's all part of their enjoyment. You can see up at the top, my roof has a window seat. The cats have actually a few of them in our home, but they, love getting up there. They love the sunshine. Being up high gives them the security that they're not going to be preyed upon. And so that's one of the reasons why it is so important that they are allowed to do that. And then play. Play is important. It is essential. Cats are born as lean, mean, fighting machines. They're active creatures. They're not sedentary. I'm always confused by why we think that cats sleep all day and that that's normal. I don't think that that is really normal. I think those are bored cats within four walls. Cats that live a portion of their life outside or live all of their life outside, they certainly nap and rest in between their hunting. They don't sleep all day. I just don't think that's part of a really normal lifestyle. I don't know where we get that they sleep 18 to 20 times a day, yet they hunt 10 and 20 times a day and groom 2/3 of the time that they're awake. There's just not enough hours in the day for them to do all of that. And so I think that that's a kind of misconception. Cats are active. They walk the neighborhood. They are, sunning in the sunshine. They're investigating, and they're doing a lot of hunting. And so our indoor cats need to be kept active. They need to be kept very active. It is essential to their health. It is absolutely essential to their weight. So much of the current medical problems that we see in cats is due to lack of environmental enrichment. Tony Buffington is a world-renowned veterinarian who really talks a lot about enrichment. And, Tony lectures to veterinarians and tells them that all of the inflammatory diseases, all of the itises like stomatitis and cystitis and pancreatitis, that the treatment of choice for those is enrichment, not medication. So keeping cats active is probably the most important thing we can do for our indoor kitties. And how do we do that? Not by giving them a basket full of toys. That is not what a cat does outside. It is not how a cat remains active. We need to have them running around, jumping, chasing, pouncing, being active. And that requires owners to actually play with their cats. Wand toys are some of the best. Anything that simulates hunt and chase is good. Playing fetch with them is wonderful. I know owners tell me that their cats don't play, and that not only makes me really, really sad, but it really is terrible for the cat. The reason that cats don't play a lot is, number one, either their owners really don't know how to play with them. It's funny because I watch people with the wand toys and I see them, dangling it in front of the cat's face and expecting the cat to play with it when, in the wild, a bird would never fly into a cat's face. A mouse would never run up to a cat and say, let's play. There's some real technique to how to play, and once you get it, cats get it too. Another reason they may not play is because their owners don't play with them or have given up playing with them. They played with them when they were kittens, and then they kind of stopped playing with them, and so then the cat's kind of forgotten how to play or sort of lost interest because all they have is that, one or two toys that were bought 5 years ago, and that's what they're expected to play with. It takes a lot of effort, but it can be done. It's 5 minutes a couple of times a day. Cats are sprinters, so that's all they're really going to require. They don't require an hour's worth of play. I typically keep wand toys in my closet. When I wake up in the morning, the wand toys, I walk into my closet to get dressed, the wand toys are looking at me. I pull one out, and I think everyone ought to have at least 10 different wand toys. The wands themselves can be the same, but you have to have all kinds of different attachments. And I take it out and I get my cats playing and running up and down and across the bed and over chairs for 5 minutes. I put it away, I get dressed, I go to work. When I come home and I'm taking my clothes off, again, I'm in my closet, there's the wand toys. It reminds me, gives me the perfect opportunity to get the cats playing, and then I feed them. It's always good to have that hunt, chase, and then let them kill the toy and then feed them. That way they get to eat their prey. And then before I go to bed, I do that again. Certainly in between all of that, they have other ways to keep active, but I physically play with them. And that's what owners need to do to get their cats active and out there and playing. So I'm going to get off my soapbox there. I laugh about having gone from being a veterinarian to being a toy expert and a play therapist, but really I believe so strongly in the fact that indoor cats need more ability to play. Um, but now that we're talking back about these feral cats that are outside, you've trapped the kitty, you've gotten it neutered, spayed, and you're going to release it and return it back to where you've gotten it. Let's talk a little bit about some of the things health-wise that I think are important. I know that there is a lot of limitation in what can be done, particularly financially, but beyond just the neuter and spay, I think that there are some other important things. And I'm not sure that these are being addressed or being done. I really am not as entrenched in the TNR community as all of you are. I, spend my time in an exam room, and I really don't know what's going on in the field as well as you guys do. But I have polled a lot of people that I know that are doing this kind of work, and really have asked them, when they took a cat in for TNR, were they told that the cat had ear mites? Was the cat treated for ear mites? There are certain things like ear mites and parasites, internal parasites, external parasites, that affect the quality of life of the cat. It really makes a difference to a cat whether they can hear or not if they have ear mites. And it really bothers them when they have mites. These little horrible creatures crunch and feed on the inside of the ear, and the cat hears that crunching and feeding, and it's itchy, and it's just horrible, as are fleas and internal parasites. A lot of kittens die just from internal parasites. A lot of them die from flea anemia. And so I know that the neuter and spay clinics are on a time crunch. It's like an assembly line. They're doing a lot of cats in a day, and I'm not sure that they're addressing those issues. I know from the trapper's standpoint, paying for it is really a hardship. It's expensive. Funds are limited, but I would just put it out there that question when you bring these cats in, if in fact their ears are getting checked, are they getting treated for ear mites? Are they getting treated for internal parasites? Are they getting, a deworming while they're there? And this is the only chance that we have to put our hands on these babies, and we need to do all that we can. If it's an adult cat, are the teeth being looked at? And dental care is so important. And for cats that are living outside, that are getting most of their meals from hunting, need to have their teeth that aren't hurting them, that aren't rotten or cracked or causing them pain and injury. And so again, I would, the babies we don't worry about, but if you've trapped an older cat, I'm hoping that the veterinarian is looking in that mouth and giving it the attention that it needs. And if you've never been told these things when the cats have been returned back to you, then it might be time to ask the vet or ask the spay neuter clinic what they're doing as far as ear mites and parasites and looking at mouths. So how do we care for these guys, when we do put them back out? I think a picture is worth 1,000 words, and there's so much truth to this. So nowadays we have our phone, and we have cameras on our phone, and this is a super great tool to use when you have gone so far as to trap a cat and you're going to do the best by them. Take pictures. Pictures are wonderful, and they help you follow this cat. And so if you've returned it back to a community and you're taking care of that community, you're feeding them, you're a caregiver there, getting serial pictures of these cats as they grow up and through their life will show you changes that are happening. If you take a picture of a new cat that's come into the colony, and then you take a picture of it 6 months later and you notice that it's a lot skinnier, that'll pop out to you and sort of give you a clue as to what cats within that colony need care. It's like us. When you see that person every day, you may not notice a little bit of weight gain or a little bit of weight loss, but if you're away from somebody for a year and then you see them, it sort of pops out at you. If you're taking care of that community of cats, or you're seeing that same cat over and over again, you may not notice some of the subtle changes. But if you take pictures of that cat through the years, you will definitely start to see the changes and what you need to look out for, and if there happens to be a problem. So use your phones. I put this in here because all of you are in the business. You are helping your community cats one way or another, and you're going to be taking them to the vet. And so how do you choose where to take them? Certainly financially, that's a big decision as to who you use and where you go. There's lots of wonderful spay and neuter clinics, and they're super great resources, particularly for TNR people. I don't know that a lot of people realize, but there are mobile vets, and every community, just about every community, has at least one mobile vet, and so that might work for you. I like for people to choose feline-only veterinarians or fear-free veterinarians, and I hesitate because some of them are better than others. Just because they have a label of being cat friendly doesn't totally mean that they are. I am a staunch anti-declaw veterinarian. I'm proud to say I have never done a declaw in my entire career. I would never mutilate a cat like that. And I have very strong feelings about it. It is part of my mission to help ban this terrible practice. I'm very vocal as to my distaste for veterinarians who actually do declaw. And so when you're picking a practice, I would say ask if they declaw, because my own personal opinion is if they do, they're not cat people. They don't love cats. And so there's lots of feline-only practices, but they do declaw. And so I don't see how the two mesh there. But I am a fear-free practitioner. I'm also on the advisory board of Fear-Free. This is a wonderful, wonderful movement. Veterinarians who have decided to take the Fear-Free certification are showing their commitment to recognizing that animals are fearful, they are anxious, they are stressed when coming to the vet, and they go the extra mile to recognize that, not only recognize that, but institute techniques that reduce that fear, anxiety, and stress in the patient. So if you're able to find one of those in your area, I would highly recommend that. Again, look for feline-only practitioners. They're dealing with cats. They know cats better than anybody else. They've chosen to work with just cats, which is phenomenal in and of itself. Back in the day when I went to vet school, everybody thought I was crazy when I said I just wanted to work with cats. And we didn't have any feline-only practices back then. There was a handful. I think there were 5 in the country. And nowadays there's lots of feline-only practices. And these are people who really, really have chosen a very special area to go into to practice veterinary medicine. At the bottom there I put the PTSD, and I do think that we cause cats a lot of stress, and especially those who have been declawed suffer from post-traumatic stress disorder. so it is important that you pick the right place to get these cats neutered and spayed and taken care of. You want one that really not only knows what they're doing medically, but knows what they're doing to the cat mentally as well as physically. And so finally, this is just the beginning. This TNR movement was non-existent just a few years ago, many years ago, probably 20 years ago, until Alley Cat Allies really started the move. Not that they started the movement, but really propelled it into what it is. Maybe they did really actually start it, but it's not the end. This is just the beginning. All of you out there are an incredible, wonderful, compassionate, humane group of individuals that I am totally in awe of. And what you are doing to help cats is making the world a better place. And I commend and congratulate each and every one of you who are here today listening to this and learning and doing what you can. You are incredible, and you all are my heroes. I'm so happy to be here to help you and support you. And I hope that you have walked away with something today. When I go to veterinary conferences, I always want just one pearl of wisdom. And if I've gotten that, I feel like it was worth my time. And so I hope that y'all have attained that as well. And if not, I invite you to contact me. You can always get me at info@deziroo, DEZIROO.com. If you did not get a pearl, talk to me. I will make sure that I give you something that was worth your while. And so, Stacy, I don't know if we're going to take any questions today, but I'm more than happy to.
I have been scanning away here. And so, folks, if you have questions, please send them in. There's a question here about if you have, with regards to dealing with the scared cats, do you have any tips for using your human body language around those really scaredy cats?
Oh, that's a wonderful question. Yes, one of the things that I forgot to mention in there that, I've sort of been experimenting with, and that is using a little bit of that silver vine. I mentioned it as scent enrichment, but silver vine is a cat attractant that 78% of cats react to. And so I think it would be a wonderful way to calm, once a cat is keyed up, there's nothing that's really going to get them calmed down. But when you are, after they've been TNR'd and you're still holding on to them, it would be nice to give them something with scent enrichment. As far as body language goes, you never want to approach a cat head on. If you think like a cat and you watch cats with other cats, number one, you want to stay on the periphery. You want to just let them know you're there. And you kind of don't want to make the first move. You want to allow them to make the first move. If you have to reach towards them, like when I'm in the clinic and I have to get a cat out of a cage or something like that, I definitely walk to the side. I try to keep my back to them as much as I can and not reach into them head on. Giving cats the opportunity to escape is really important, or a place to hide, like a box, is really important. Most cats don't want confrontation. They're only going to do that to defend themselves. And so keeping as less confrontational as you can is important. I don't try to look them in the eye. I know about the slow blinks and all of that, but that's only good with cats that are very social. It's not so good with cats that are, petrified and really scared. So you want to not speak. You don't want to reach out for them. You want to come in from the side. You want to come in sort of from the back. You want to see if, you can't lure them into where you want to go with food and treats. And, most cats won't take a food or treat out of your hand, so don't try that. Just set it down. Can you think of anything else, Stacy? You probably know a lot about this.
No, I think it's very good. You definitely have to just think about your approach. I find it's very interesting the scaredy cats. When I had if, young kids, ironically, sometimes my kids were better at approaching my cats than I was because I always had the reputation of being the one that like sort of had picked at them and needed to do stuff, but they had this sort of blind trust in my kids in a strange way because there was a level of innocence there. And I'm not saying that everybody should have your kids go running after semi-feral cats or anything like that, but I try to adapt that attitude in myself, saying I don't have any agenda coming at you. I'm just trying to relate with you, even if I do have the agenda of like maybe trying to get some advantage on them or something else. And so you have to go in without having really not being rushed, obviously, and not having really that in your mind because it can almost read your mind, I think.
I agree. I definitely think they read our minds, and the less you approach them, but rather give them the opportunity to approach you is better. Again, giving them places to kind of hide and retreat from you is actually very helpful to
Mhm.
them.
So I'm going to move along here. I have some questions about your references to honeysuckle, valerian, the silver vine. Where would you find this stuff? Several people aren't really particularly familiar with the uses and like how to purchase this.
Okay, so um, Dezi and Rue has Silvervine. We have a product called Cloud9 Silvervine, and I think we're the only ones to actually have it in powder form. It is absolutely incredibly awesome. You can get that on our website. Catnip is, you know, buying good fresh catnip. I think everybody knows about the Yao bananas, but that's a great catnip toy. The honeysuckle and valerian are a little more difficult to find, but honeysuckle actually, the best honeysuckle for cat comes from Canada. And just look online for honeysuckle toys from Canada. There is a very specific type of honeysuckle, and again, it grows in Canada. It's not like the honeysuckle that we grow here that cats find interesting. And valerian, you can get, there are some toys, I think they're called Bavarian toys. You should be able to find them online, either on Amazon or just Googling them. Valerian is another good scent enrichment that cats like. I think the order of acceptance is silvervine, then catnip, then honeysuckle, and then valerian. But besides those, again, I bring in branches and leaves and things from the outdoors. Um, you know, outdoor cats scavenger and they dumpster dive and do all of that. So bringing in, if you go to fast food and you've got a McDonald's bag and you bring it in, let your cat smell it. Bringing the outdoors in is the best way to enrich cats that are inside. Look at what cats outside do and try to mimic that inside. So again, at least once a week, I bring in a branch or something from the yard that I've picked up on my way in.
So you're saying I should run outside right now and go grab a snowball and bring it in?
Exactly. Why not? Snowballs would be fun. I would get a tub and I would fill it up with snow and I would let my cat investigate it. Why not? That sounds like a blast.
For you down in Atlanta, right? Or in the Georgia area. So we've had a couple questions about fear-free. Can you describe fear-free vet as well as what is the process for certification? Is it for only for veterinarians or is it a wider, like can anybody get certified in fear-free?
Actually, Fear Free is a movement that was started by Dr. Marty Becker, and I believe we're in the third year of Fear Free. It is an educational community that teaches veterinarians, and now we're teaching groomers as well as trainers fear-free techniques. And so everybody can look up fear-free. The certification program is for professionals where you sign up and you take modules. In fact, I'm working right now on my third certification, and so that's what I was doing all day yesterday, was listening to some podcasts and taking tests afterwards to make sure that I'm up to speed on my knowledge. And this past year they rolled out fear-free certifications for entire practices. So rather than just individuals, and the individuals can be, anybody who works in the profession, but now the certification is for entire practices where the entire practice sort of has to jump through certain hoops to have the practice known as that. They've also rolled out Fear-Free Homes, and Fear-Free Homes is for the public, and you can get on and register on Fear-Free Homes. They're rolling out all kinds of programs on that. On Fridays, I'm not sure if this one is out yet, but there's going to be products that people can purchase at a discount on Fridays. It talks about how to get your animals less fearful going to the vet, the things that you can do at home. Fear-free practitioners work very closely on making sure that their patients are assessed for fear, anxiety, and stress, and we give them, scores on it, on our medical records, just like you would do physical, temperature and blood pressure and all of that. We score each of our patients to make sure that we know their level of fear, stress, and anxiety, and that we address those. Before we move any further, we make sure that we try to get them to a place where they are not scared of coming to the vet, being at the vet, or having treatment.
All right, we're going to do one more question. We do have a couple out there, but one last question that I think would be important for us to cover. Well, I'm going to take two questions and kind of put it into one. Big question about what are your opinions on taming cats and bringing them inside, which really covered a lot about what you were talking about today. And then just one quick question on, do you think it's okay if you find feathers outdoors? Is it okay to bring those into the house?
So I didn't catch the first part of the question. Is it okay to bring cats inside?
Yeah, so it's about opinion about taming cats and bringing them inside. So, how do you make that choice, and how far do you really go?
Okay. So I'm not sure that we ever tame cats. Cats own us. We don't own them. But acclimating a cat to the indoors, one of the things about indoor cats is they have no choice. And that really bothers me, that most owners, we pick and choose where we put the litter box, what litter box we have, what litter we're going to use, where it's placed. Same with food, where we put the, what we feed them, where we feed them, what we feed them out of, how often we feed them. And so giving cats choices is really important. The more choices you give a cat, the more you watch them, the happier they're going to be, and the more likely they are to acclimate to the inside. Now, feathers, I think feathers are great for cats. However, a lot of outdoor birds have mites in their feathers. So you just want to make sure that you've inspected everything really well and that you don't see any mites crawling around. You might want to run it under some water. But I think any enrichment from the outside in is great. And the truth of the matter is cats that are outside catch birds, not as often as we think that they do. Birds are not easy to catch, but when they do, yes, they encounter the feathers, and they kind of lived through it. So I wouldn't be, too freaked out about it. I think it's a pretty good idea.
Excellent. All right. I think we've got, yep, pretty much all of the questions have been taken care of. Dr. Lynn, I want to thank you again so much for joining us today. Great information. Several people did respond with a couple of other resources about where they were getting some of their supplies and that kind of thing, but maybe I can put together a little short list about that. But it's great. Thank you for passing along those tips. And again, thank you for joining us, especially knowing you were online all day yesterday doing tests and things. So appreciate that very much. We did interview Dr. Becker about Fear Free also about a year and a half ago. So you can also just put Becker in the search bar, communitycatspodcast.com, and his podcast will come up. So you can listen about his ideas and the origin story of the Fear Free program. And
wonderful. And Stacey, thank you for putting this all together. And I want to thank your audience. This is an incredible group of cat lovers, and I am so happy to be a part of it.